Another day, another FPL pod. Jack, how you doing?
Joshua, yeah, very well, thank you. On this Tuesday, it's mid-game week, mid-double game week Tuesday. So we're in the midst of 33, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see how we're both doing. But yeah, I'm very well. Had a really nice Easter. Got engaged. So just let our fans know.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much. Great to have you over to celebrate it on a Sunday.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Yeah. Celebrating engagements and stuff. So it was a lovely weekend.
Lovely. Yeah.
Celebrating engagements. Talking about FPL.
Yeah.
Two
Speaking of
games.
staying engaged, we're this is a key part of the season, isn't it? We've got to stay engaged with the world of FPL because we've got a lot of things happening in the coming game weeks, not least of all next week with a cheeky double game week for two high profile teams. So I think we'll focus the pod on that, won't we? And sort of discuss what best to do, which players to bring in, captaincy choices, whether you should play a chip or not, that sort of thing. Yeah, excited.
I like it. Good plan. Solid plan. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So do you want us to, I guess, kick it off with the 33 review? I know we're partway through it.
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
But kick off with the game week 33 review, and then we'll move on to the meaty stuff, I guess. So do you want me to kick off with how I'm doing so far?
Do it, man. Let's just do it.
Tell me. I just want to get mine out of the way.
What's happening? What's happened?
It's not another. It's again, Jack. It's not a great week for me so far.
Josh,
made two changes because I really wanted to get Maddie in my team, and I couldn't get there with one transfer because of the cost, and I didn't. There were players in midfield I didn't want to take out. So to get Douglas Luiz to Maddie, I had to then also make a defensive change. So I've taken a hit and basically went Doherty, because he's injured now, to Kraft over at Newcastle. And then I went Douglas Luiz to Maddison. And so far, that move has not paid off. So Kraft is on 1 point after their first game, and Maddison has just got the 2 points from the captaincy. So 1 point because he actually started on the bench. So yeah, not ideal. I'm on 17 points overall so far. Massive drop in rank, but there's still games to play. So I'm just hoping that Maddison turns it around and does bits in their second game.
Yeah, I mean, any week you get Douglas Luiz out, I think is a win, regardless. So that's good. But yeah, you're very, very unlucky. I also got the Maddison in and captained him, and there was always a risk, wasn't there? If we're being honest with ourselves, after that European game, there was always a risk he'd be benched. But to see him and Barnes benched, I think you've been very unlucky there.
And Roberts bench for Burnley.
Yeah, Roberts, but he got benched the week before, didn't he? So I was worried about that anyway. But just a weird that he just comes on for 30 minutes, Yeah. It's a weird one, but hopefully he gets a start, or at least an appearance in their second game for both of us. But yeah, I mean, Kraft was lucky as well. Did he get booked? I take it.
Yes, sir, Bob, I believe.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it, when you have a defender and they just concede one goal and that just rinses your points. It's just brutal, I think.
That's why it's no fun investing in defenders.
It's not, is it? It's just because a miserable game.
60 minutes gone. Oh yeah, 6 points. Great.
Yeah.
75 minutes gone. Oh, still got six points. And then all it takes is just one little slip and you're done.
Yeah. Even when they're doing well, it's agony because at least when you've got an attacking player, you're waiting for the positive. Whereas if you've got like 3 defenders with a clean sheet, you just on 10 to hooks, just wait. You don't want updates, do you, on the BBC feed?
No.
Grim. It is grim. But yeah, I mean, on the positive side, you've still got over half your players to play in terms of you got Cancelo and Salah tonight, and you've got all doublers except Kane, haven't you? So it's early days, Josh.
I hope so, Jack. Cheer me up a little bit. How are you doing?
Yeah, well, it's a weird week because I'm not doing that much better than you. I'm only 8 points ahead of you on 25, but I've got a green arrow with that. So, I mean, even though you're on a red arrow, you're only dropped 5k places, which is nothing.
It's a big arrow to me
And
emotionally.
it's an emotional arrow, yeah, big emotionally. And I'm up 20k with 25 points, so it just shows how few points. Unless you've got Ronaldo this week, you're on a similar point score to us, aren't you? Really?
Yeah.
So yeah, the only difference between us is I had those Brighton defenders in that first game, so Sanchez and Cucurella with 6 and 8 points. After your Brighton bashing last week, Josh, they've done it again, and they've beaten Spurs. They've listened, yeah, motivated. But yeah, apart from those two, it's a similar story to you, man. Roberts, Tarkowski doing nothing for me still. Awful signings they've been. Maddison captaincy. Arsenal, my Saka's not doing very well. I know you had Martinelli and Ramsdale. Chris Wood, nothing. I know a lot of people captained him. I nearly did, to be honest. Still got one more point than Maddison. So but there we are. Shea Adams didn't play. You know, I'd been holding on to him purely for this week. It's been awful. And of course, he doesn't get a game. So we'll see if he makes an appearance in that second game. But yeah, not a great. It was the great start with Brighton, and then just nothing happened, did it, for the rest of the game week for most people?
What a sad place that we live in at the moment. A Brighton clean is what we're raving about. I mean, I take it.
Exactly.
The clean.
Yeah, the Brighton clean. I definitely will take it. But yeah, so let's hope for that the second half of the double game week to be really good, starting tonight with Liverpool United. I think Liverpool are going to absolutely rinse them. They haven't even got Ronaldo to bail them out, have they, tonight? So,
and so many injuries outside of that as well. United are just. I'm not going to say I feel sorry for them because I don't. But
no,
you know,
the amount of money they've spent,
team, they are stripped of players.
But the money they've spent, they should have the depth of Liverpool and City, shouldn't they? And they don't.
I mean, to be fair, they actually probably do. You know, like Shaw drops out, then Tellez comes in. You know, McFred drop out, and they're probably just going to start with Matic and Pogba.
I guess so. Yeah, I guess on paper they do, but I mean,
reality,
it's not inspirational, is it? They've got actual players, but they're just terrible. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. So yeah, we're recording this pod just before that game. I guess we'll get the lineups in 10 minutes. Is it 8:00 kickoff?
Yeah, breaking news.
Yeah, so we'll get the lineups in 10. So we'll break it on the pod. No live listeners because we're not streaming it anywhere, but
so you'll hear this
after the game. Yeah, great. We'll get excited. You'll hear us getting excited in 10 minutes.
Beautiful.
So yeah, all in all, it's early days for the game week, and I don't think we can judge how we've done until we see how Maddison does, etc. Can we?
Yeah, please God, Maddie, do something.
Please, Maddie. Yeah, come on, mate. Who have they got in their second game? Is it Newcastle?
It is Everton.
No, they've just played them, haven't they? So yeah, it's Everton. I mean, Everton. Come on, boys.
Don't tempt us.
Come on, battle of the Blues. But they are beached a bit, Leicester, aren't they?
Yeah,
in the Prem, they've got to have that focus on that Conference League, haven't they? But
yeah, and unfortunately for us, with our Leicester players in the Prem. Trying to get.
I think he might be league going for me after today, Maddison. After this week, I think it's an in and out. It's an in and out for him, but we'll see. We'll see what happens, right, Josh? So there we are, midweek. Probably similar to most listeners at this stage. It's in the wait and see mode. But let's move on, shall we, to game week 34 with the kind of late announcement of that Chelsea Man United double. So it's like a baby double game week, isn't it? With just that extra game. How has that affected your planning and your thinking?
If I'm honest, my mind's still catching up with it because it's a double and you suddenly get excited, but I don't really know how much I want to go in on this double because you know me, Jack, I'm a planner. I like my plans. And I really had my eyes on 36 and 37. So I'm not liking this baby 34 double, which is taking my focus away from that. We're going to talk about wild cards. So obviously that this may have affected a lot of people's plans for that if they were looking at 34. 35 still an option, so that could change everything. But really, I'm not that interested in United. Chelsea does intrigue me. So we can talk about that in detail. But what are your thoughts? Are you jumping on United triple up, I'm guessing?
Yeah, well, look, can't resist United assets, mate. No, I did. It made me pause because I just thought the plan was always going to be wildcard 35, bench boost 36, but it just made me think: should I perhaps wildcard in 34 and take advantage of this double, and then also build for that 36 game week? But I'm still not sure, really. I'm going to see how I feel after the next few games go in this game week and see how I feel. Because not only did Chelsea really tempt me, tripling up on Chelsea would be cool to do for this double, I think. I was also a bit tempted with some United assets until I actually looked at the underlying stats in prep for this pod, and that's just put me way off. So we'll go through them in a minute. But other things as well, like how Spurs performed. Like Spurs were terrible. So I'm like, oh, do I actually still want all my Spurs boys for this week? Maybe I'll wild out and just have a Son, maybe. I don't know. Because Brentford look quite good, and I think they might struggle in that fixture next week. But it's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky because, I mean, United have Arsenal and Chelsea, not the best double at all. I think they will lose both of those. And Chelsea have West Ham and United, which isn't like exactly mega easy. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and if anything, we've seen how quickly things can change. Like with that, it's only been one game week that Spurs haven't performed, but it does give us pause, and that's what I'm kind of leaning towards a 35 wildcard because of things like that. Gives you one extra week. You're that 1 week closer to the 36, 37, which is what you're preparing for, or I'm mainly preparing for. So, but yeah, man, it's let's drill down to the numbers because I know you've looked in this a little bit and see what the stats say. What do the stats say?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I looked on the stat, and you apply the filters for the teams, don't you? So I set it to Chelsea, excuse me, to look at the underlying data. And I set it from the start of March. So like a month and a half worth of data. So like the last 5 or 6 games, who's had the best XG amongst these players. And the usual name comes up. And then I added in Man United's filter to like add the players in and compare them. And I thought I'd done it wrong because the table didn't change. The table didn't look like it changed. I was like, oh, have I done this right? And I had done it right. It's just that Chelsea's players are just all so much better than United's. It's in quite a dramatic way. So I had the table filtered to XG 90 plus XA per 90. So rather than raw XG and XA. So that's like goals and assists combined per 90 minutes, who are the best players since the 1st of March. So you've got Kai Havertz at number 1 with just over 1 a game. He's the only player with just over 1 per game, which is ridiculously high, really. Then you've got Alonso, then Pulisic, then Werner, then James, and then Mount. And only after Mount does Cristiano Ronaldo appear. And then it's Ziyech. So you've got those 6 key Chelsea players outperforming Ronaldo for XG per 90 and XA per 90, which is pretty crazy, pretty wild, I think. And I was more interested to see, like, Mason Mount seems to be the player everyone's gravitating to, probably because he's done so well recently in the Champions League as well, and the FA Cup. But it's Kai Havertz seems to be a better pick in terms of the stats for this, and Werner, and so does Timo Werner. So that kind of gave me pause for thought, really, because Mount was my kind of knee jerk, right? Bring Mason Mount in, captain him for this week, fine. But I'm very tempted by Havertz now. What do you make of that?
Well, first off the bat is that comparison between the two teams, isn't it? And where they sit compared when you line them up next to each other.
Yeah, let's start with that. You're right.
It backs up, as you said, what we have in terms of an eye test is Chelsea are a much better team as a team, and their assets individually are much better from an FPL perspective. And considering like Ronaldo, we do kind of say, he's got it in him, blah blah blah. He's got the hat trick this week, but it just shows, doesn't it, how apart from the hat trick, like generally it hasn't had that many chances recently. That the underlying, I mean, I know he doesn't need them, but it just shows he's just not going to get that many chances in this United team. If he had as many as like a Chelsea, Liverpool, City, it'd be absolutely banging them. But
Yeah,
so
I mean,
that's
he scored 6 goals in that time, Ronaldo, with an XG of 1.91. So he's overperformed his XG because he's an elite finisher, of course. He's overperformed it, but and he's just got no assists and isn't even close to getting any assists in that time. So yeah, and I hate to say it, but we don't know if he's going to play, do we, Ronaldo, next week yet? I mean, he's missing tonight's game, understandably, but they haven't announced whether he'll appear again in the next couple of weeks, do they? We don't know what he's going through. So
no, I mean the emotional. It's just heartbreaking, isn't it? The emotional toll. He just needs to be with his family, and football just is not even a factor in the moment.
Yeah,
Really, is it?
I mean, he of all players, it wouldn't surprise you if he'd be the one to determinedly, doggedly come back early, would it? But yeah, I mean, he's from an FPL standpoint now, he is an avoid, unfortunately. So that might, obviously, United players still have to play, and it might make you think, well, who should we go for? But the other players, the stats just aren't looking that great, in my opinion. Sancho's the next. Well, I mean, XG per 90, it's Jesse Lingard and Juan Mata are the two that have better XG per 90 stats. But in terms of actual XG, Sancho and Bruno Fernandes are the next two with 0.5. I mean, Jadon Sancho in 5 games, 0.52 XG. And Fernandes in 4 games, 0.35. It's pathetic, man.
At that price point as well, like, no, thank you. Because they're not cheap. This is the other thing.
That's it. They're not. They're really not.
So I think, all your digging has just kind of shone a light on what we partly already knew, but it confirms it, right? It confirms that they're just not very good.
No, they're not. Yeah, I think. I mean, you could argue that without Ronaldo, if he didn't play, that Bruno might push up a little bit, but it's not. Yeah, it's not inspiring at all. I will be avoiding them, I think, certainly for this next week. And wild card or not, I'd be avoiding them, despite having the double. And I believe they double in 36 as well, don't they?
30.
Or do they? I've lost the list of. They don't.
Currently they don't. And currently they're listed as a blank for 37. So they've got this double 34 and then singles, and then a blank at 37 currently.
Right. Sure.
So yeah, it's not. I mean, the fixtures aren't too bad. Unfortunately, this double isn't amazing for them. Arsenal, Chelsea.
It's grim, yeah.
But Arsenal haven't been great recently, so that's what to take from that. And the other thing on top is, we mentioned the injuries. I mentioned the injuries already. They are like mounting up. So if Ronaldo isn't playing, well, we don't know how long that's for. And then no McFred, so no Fred or McTominay in the middle. Varane's injured. Shaw's injured. That's just not great. That's like the spine of their team almost, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great spine, but you're right, it is the spine. But they are, what an awful season they've had, really. Absolutely awful. I've just seen their 11 that's been announced for tonight, actually. Let's have a little look. So this will give you an indication of the type of team they're working with, I guess, for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, De Gea, Lindelof, Phil Jones is starting. That should be interesting. Maguire. So 3 centre-backs. Pogba, Rashford, Bruno, Dalot, Wan-Bissaka, Matic and Elanga. So it looks like they've gone for 5 across the back with Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. God, grim. And then with, I guess, Matic, Pogba, like you said. Matic, Pogba, and then Rashford, Bruno, Elanga. I mean,
3-prong at the top.
That's terrible.
It's interesting how they'll play that as well, isn't it? Because
could be solid.
Yeah, they could just put like Elanga and Rashford up top with Bruno and behind, and let the wing backs be the width, or he pushes Elanga and Rashford out wide and plays a false 9 with Bruno up there. But
It's
we're going to have to
interesting.
see him
No
line up.
Sancho benched, McTominay on the bench as well.
The only guy next on the list that could have been an option
I
is
mean,
now
what does that
off the
tell you?
table.
Just stay away from this team. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, let's just check out the Liverpool 11 while we're here, shall we?
Please do. Yeah.
So we've got Alisson, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, Diaz, Salah, and Mane. So no Jota on the bench. That's about the only that's pretty much their best 11, isn't it? I would say. Without Jota.
I mean, very similar to the cup team that played City. I think they played Keita instead of Hendo.
Right.
And Kanate at the back instead of Matip.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot
is Firmino injured again?
No, I think he's just dropped down the pecking order. So because he started playing Mane,
he's not even on the bench though.
I'm not sure. I mean, he has been on the bench. He was in the bench for the City game, for example, but just not started. But Mane's been playing through the middle because of Diaz, starting on the left sometimes, and Jota plays through the middle as well. So it's got a lot more competition for that central spot now, Bobby. So
interesting. Yeah, I mean, this team should demolish that United team. I can't wait to watch that. That's going to be great. That is going to be fun.
So that's the United bashing done. Basically,
the weekly United bashing is done. I'll sign off now. You do the rest of the
pod. So that's United. Let's just move to something a bit more exciting. Chelsea, Jack. You listed them in order of this, combined XG and XA. You mentioned Havertz, top of the list. So
should we go through them one by one and just kind of get a hot or cold rating on them and whether you'd consider bringing them in? Yeah. So let's start at the top with Havertz. I mean, he's in the last 5 games, an XG of 3.96. That's pretty big, almost a goal a game. Less of an XA of 0.6, but he's had a decent season, hasn't he, Kai? He's shaken that COVID off.
He's Scotch bonnet, hot. Top hotness for me personally. I think.
Do you think he's top over anyone else for you, like in terms of bringing in for Chelsea?
In that Chelsea team, I think he's number 1 personally.
Interesting.
The stats show it, as you said. Returns wise, would you say 5 goals, 1 assist in the last 5 games? That's impressive.
It is big.
To top it off, I think he's had the most minutes out of any of those. Any of the people you'd be comparing him to. So
that's very true.
It's just like kind of triple threat in that returns, underlying stats, and minutes. And none of them have got full 90 minutes across the 5 games, because like Tuchel's almost like a mini me for the bold fraud, isn't he? Like Pep the bold fraud. It's just they've got so much depth. No player is getting 90 minutes consistently in the midfield and attack, that is. So that's as good as you're going to get. I think Havertz's minutes return.
Yeah, I didn't. It's so weird. I wouldn't have guessed that going in to look at those stats, but it is stark, I would say. Like Mount's almost played the same amount of minutes as him, same games, but has far less. I mean, he's got a much higher XA actually, 1.31 compared to 0.6. But yeah, his 3 goals and 2 assists compared to 5 goals. I guess it's not a million miles off actually looking at it. It's just Havertz is the better option. But a really interesting one is Werner in there. So, I mean, he's played slightly less minutes. So he's played about a game's. He still had 5 appearances, but he's played about 90 minutes less across those games. 2 assists, 2.56 XG. I mean, is Werner, are you crazy getting Werner, or is that?
I mean, I think a lot it's been talked about a lot recently, because he's kind of slotted in as the spearhead of that like attack, isn't he, recently? Kind of taken the Lukaku role that we thought would be filled by, Lukaku right from as soon as he came in, but he just hasn't taken it. But yeah, you still look at his minutes, and I've just brought it up. So from 32 going backwards, so his most recent going backwards in time, he played 90 minutes against Southampton, then 63 minutes against Brentford, then 62 minutes against Newcastle, 85 against Norwich, 12 against Burnley, and then he didn't start against, didn't play any minutes against Crystal Palace and Tottenham, going back to 23.
So it's not a lock.
It's he's had more recently compared to, he was hardly getting any, wasn't he? Like kind of 15 game weeks ago, he was just consistently benched. So
is he now in a weird renaissance period that we should take advantage of, is the question, or is it just more rotation as we go? Now Chelsea are out of the Champions League. They've obviously got the FA Cup final, but is he gonna bother rotating as much? And if not, then who is his preferred player? Because Pulisic is here as well, but I'd be really wary of Pulisic just in terms of minutes.
Yeah, the other thing I'd say about Werner is the 2 goals that he's got in his last 5 games came in the same game, which is always a little bit of like, one performance. And he hasn't really done anything else apart from that. So the points for those 32 going backwards, 15 points against Southampton, then a 2, 2, 2, 1. Like he's done nothing else.
No, his finishing is horrendous, isn't it? It's always has been. Very strange, because he came with like a reputation as a good finisher, but
so I
Paul
guess
even wanted him, didn't they, at one point?
He looked great. He looked great before we made the move, didn't he? Looked threatening, but
Werner,
it's tough. It's a high risk move, I think.
It is, isn't it? And I'm in that high risk mode, so I'm thinking, do I just do it? And there aren't the other thing is, striker wise, there aren't that many good ones. So does that kind of fall in his favour a bit? But I wouldn't be confident of him starting those 2 games in the double, is what it comes down to, I think.
Yeah, and that's completely understandable. I mean, that's what everything backs up, isn't it? Like, he's not going to get 90 minutes.
No, and that goes for Pulisic as well. I think we don't need to dwell on Pulisic too much. I don't think his underlying stats warrant us even talking about him, really, because of the minutes thing. But the defender side, that's another interesting angle with Chelsea. So there's a lot of talk about Alonso, and should you play Alonso? And I think Tuchel today came out with a statement about Reece James, didn't he? About playing him in a 3 at the back. Did you see that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what to take from it. I don't know how much to believe for these managers, what they say in conferences and things. I'd rather see what happens on the pitch when they play. I mean, I know that's difficult because you've got to wait. So if you're looking to make that move ahead of the game week, you might be forced to play your hand a little bit beforehand. But I can wait to 35 before I'm bringing in a lot of these big boys, really. But I think he's still going to start. But you're right. Is it going to affect his positionally how far he is up the pitch? Because when he plays in that right wing back position, my God, he's basically a attacking right winger, isn't he?
Yeah. So does that mean we want Alonso if he is going to start in that 3? Because I love when Alonso is a lock. He's a great asset to have, I think.
Yeah, but again, he's much like Werner, isn't he? When you look at like how he's done recently, really, it was just that Southampton game with the 13 points that he got, played 90 minutes.
Well, did well against Real Madrid in the Champions League, even though they lost, didn't he? Got a goal.
Yeah.
Well, he got a handball goal, didn't he, actually? But
it's still such a small sample of, it could be flash in the pan, basically. Again, another high risk, I think. The Reece being played more centrally would be a negative, but I think on paper still Reece is the better of the 2.
Yeah. So I think we're saying, well, maybe not. I think we're saying if you're only going to bring in one Chelsea player, we're pretty firmly agreed on Havertz, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to take a hit for another one, should you take a hit for another one? And B, if so, would you go for Mount or would you go for a Reece James or someone else?
It really depends on who you've got in your team and what their fixtures are. I would not be tempted to push that second player. That's just me personally. I'd go with Havertz and sit back and be quite happy. But if I was going to go for the second, it'd probably be Reece James, I think. I think Mount is going to although he's probably the bigger threat in terms of points because he's kind of right up there with the form. I think he's going to be rotated. He's not going to get that many points. They've just got so many options, haven't they, in that kind of midfield and wide area.
Yeah, they do. And you'll just hate yourself, I think, if you take the -4 and that second player you get doesn't start, or they both don't start, or yeah, I think you're right.
And there's other matchups. There's some single games like that are pretty tasty there. So City, you've got Watford, for example.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, true.
That's another consideration if you're.
Yeah, Liverpool, Everton, Salah, Spurs, Brentford. I mean, yeah, there are some tasty ones, really. I think you're right. Joe. I think you've convinced me not to take the hit and just get a
Havertz.
Just get the Havertz in. I do think Mount will be the most popular one, though, over Havertz. He just seems to be being talked about more, doesn't he? So maybe the FOMO will make me bring in both of them, but not sure.
I don't think, don't get me wrong, I don't think it's a bad move. Looking at the fixtures that Chelsea have got now, they've got a pretty good run. And, with the double in the 36, and then they've got the single in the 37, but it's like West Ham United, Everton, Wolves, Brentford, Leicester, Watford. I mean, that's decent, pretty tasty. And they're going to be, going for the run-in as well. So, but then they do have, they're in the FA Cup final. There's going to be some rotation there, isn't it?
I think the fact they're out of the Champions League is good news for FPL players, because there shouldn't really be a reason why he needs to rotate until that final on the 14th of May, I think it is. So it's not for a few weeks. So I think he'll just want his best players staying warm and playing, really, until then. And I think Mount and Havertz are the two favourites of his so far.
Especially what you said about Reece James. Although I would want to pick him, because I still do think that Chelsea's clean sheet potential is huge. There's a bit more certainty of points around there, because it's easy just to think of Reece James when you think of his attacking potential, but Rudiger's been a great option this year, and majority of that is just because he's consistently played in a good defense. He's just
and he loves a pinger of a long range goal, doesn't
he? Bangs him in.
What about Mendy? Would you be tempted by Mendy?
Maybe. One of your comments earlier from this season stick in my mind is it's just the premium goalkeeper thing. It just feels a bit, I don't know, is he better than? I've got Ramsdale. I mean, Ramsdale's been terrible recently, but I just don't feel like there's much benefit.
It's a big use of a transfer, isn't it? For one, to change a goalie, a transfer is very valuable, isn't it? And using one on a goalie just feels,
And you want a Chelsea player, and so you're picking, Mendy over Reece James, a Mount, or someone else. I know money's a factor, so you might not be able to get in those positions, but for this game week, direct comparison, you're going with Mendy really wanting 2 clean sheets over, potential goals and clean sheets, maybe.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yeah, and those Reece James can get you both. Can get you both of those. So yes, interesting. But feeling good vibes generally about Chelsea, aren't we? I think they're looking decent despite that Champions League loss.
Yeah, with a great run. Tasty
run. With a tasty run. So I think wild cards will be loading up. I'm looking next week. We said we'll do a sort of wild card draft episode, won't we? Because we'll probably both be building up wild cards then. So,
but that answers actually one of the questions is, would you wildcard this week? Because you said you were half tempted, or is it really a case of saving it for 35? So we're not going to drill down into the players, but just addressing the 34 versus 35 to pull that trigger.
Yeah, I think it is a 35er. I mean, it's a weird one, but if Ronaldo was definitely going to be playing, that might have swayed me. But I don't know though, because they don't have a double in 36. So why would I bring Ronaldo in? I don't know. I'm less tempted now that we've spoke about half an hour than I was earlier. But because it is just that there's just something nice, isn't there, about doing it as close as possible to the game week where you'll benefit from it. If you wildcard now and a few injuries happen, you're suddenly taking hits to keep that bench boost team intact, aren't you? So I do think you're better off doing it in 35. Or if you don't have a triple cap or a bench boost to play, just do it in 36 and just get that team set for that week. Which is the benefit. Because like you say, I think 34, there are good single game week fixtures for players that you probably already have that you wouldn't bring in on the wild card necessarily. So it's okay to keep them.
Yeah, and there's a lot of quite nicely prepped or primed fixtures for the teams that have doubles. So like even Villa in 35, they've got Norwich in 35. So, if you're looking for some other players to fill around some of the big boys that you might be picking, even like Watford, they've got City in 34. So you don't want anyone for 34, but then they've got Burnley in 35, and then they've got a half decent double in 36. So you might want like one Watford player to fill in around your other players, but you're not going to do that in 34. You'll be less tempted to do it in 34.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Yeah, I want Pookie, Josh. I think if I wildcarded now, Pookie would come in. I think he looked great against United, and he's just got a good finish on him, doesn't he? So that's
maybe it's just
side.
I've got that bias. Maybe I should back Pookie again. Blast from the past.
But yeah, good. All right. Well, I think that's covered that double, really, hasn't it? We've touched on the other fixtures for the other team, so I think that's fine. So I guess that just leaves us, Josh, with our plans for the next week. Have we given the game away? Are we both just jumping in on Havertz, or is there another move you've got? Have you got any fires to put out?
Well, not too many fires. I'm still stuck with a Ben Mee.
Leave him there.
Kind of just sat in that third spot. I think I'm just going to carry him until the wild card.
The new manager of Burnley on your bench.
I mean, just chilling, killing. But I think, I don't know. The annoying thing is I can't really get to Havertz in one move from anyone in the midfield apart from Salah, which I don't want to do. So it's kind of dragged me into a very similar situation that I had to this week, where I wanted Maddison, so I had to make 2 transfers, took a -4 to get there. And I might do the same this week, just because I am a little bit scared of Havertz. I think I've got the fear.
How much is Havertz?
7.9, I believe, currently, and I can only see that going up, I think. But you're right, Mount might be the main guy, but actually I think
a lot of people will be jumping on
both of them.
The have, weren't they? Yeah, the haves and the have
slightly
nots.
cheaper, but
I still might go both. I don't know. Yeah, but so you might. So if you do that, and you'd have to take a hit, would you? Because you want to keep Salah.
I want to keep Salah. I think, a lot of chat about, where is it worth dropping Salah now? But for me, underlying stats is just about still there. If he still doesn't do it,
you made a very good TikTok on that. I should add. Head over to TikTok to check out Josh's Salah analysis.
Yeah, is not the answer, the news I was expecting to give, but I was expecting to give a, no Salah, but it is Mo Salah, keep him there. So yeah, I don't know, definitely keep him to the wild card, and if he just still isn't doing it, then might be the time to get him out just for the the last 4 games. So yeah, that's it for me. Getting to Havertz somehow through Maddison, so I have to make one other change. It's just
finding a bit of
money. That money from.
Yeah, same. I think it's the same move for me, Josh. I've got a bit of money in the bank, so I'd probably go Maddison to Havertz, and then just weigh up whether I do a sort of a Kulu or a Saka to Mount, just for the double. But it's a tricky one. It's a tricky one.
So that's a -4, right?
I've still got a dead Doherty on the bench. That would be a -4, yeah. So, and then there's dead Doherty, which I could bump up to an Alonso if I wanted to, but it's whether I think I need to do a bit more research on how much of a cert is Alonso to start. See what Chelsea fans think, and if that Reece James comment means he's gonna, then I could be tempted to go with him. But we shall see. We shall see. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. Again, like it's literally the story of the season, isn't it? Wait to as close to the deadline as possible.
Yeah.
Keep the ear to the ground because it's just things change so quickly.
Yeah, someone will have COVID or something. But yes, good.
Did.
Okay.
Good.
Well, that was a
yeah.
swift pod, Josh. Enjoyed
Swifties, that. Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Thanks for the research, Jack. That's helped narrow my field of vision for this next game week. So I appreciate
Can't have those blanks. Don't blame the researcher.
I'm blaming you.
Blame,
that comes with a Jack guarantee, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh,
money back guarantee on how that's returning. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see how they do. See how United do tonight. I mean, if United somehow get a result tonight,
don't say it.
Then maybe our opinions will change on their assets. But yeah, I mean, Sancho bench just makes me think. I mean, it's only Bruno, isn't it, that could maybe tempt you in that team, I think.
So expensive.
So expensive and not delivering at all since he signed that contract.
Phil Jones, can I interest you in?
Maybe Big Phil. If Phil Jones gets a hat-trick tonight, I'll get him in and captain him. There you go. There's a Jack guarantee. There's a Jack guarantee. Definitely will. But yeah, thank you for listening. However you digest us, whether that's Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. If you're TikToking, hello to you on TikTok.
Check us out.
And yeah, check us out. Please, a like and subscribe goes a long way. A cheeky little like helps massively. So yeah, thanks ever so much. And leave us your comments. What are you going to do this week? Do you like Havertz? Do you like Mount? Who do you like? Let us know. Have we missed anyone?
Yeah, maybe you can convince us, please do.
Yeah, we're very easily convinced, easily swayed.
We are actually.
Like the wind, completely change our opinions every few hours. So yeah, very good. All right, Josh, thanks a lot. Let's go watch this Liverpool game.
Yeah, cheers, Jack. All right, thanks everyone.
Cool. Bye-bye.